Man, it's been so long since I last talked about Lore Olympus. It hasn't. It really hasn't. Anyway, Season 1 is almost over. Unless you're a FastPass user, then Season 1 is over. But for us normies, we have a few more weeks of Lore Olympus. During my Lore Olympus character chart series, especially my Hades and Persephone videos, I mentioned that I'll eventually come back to them. And today, I'm coming back to Persephone. Any avid Lore Olympus fan who watched my character chart series probably had problems with how I pronounce some of their names. But for all you, get in line with the Blake fans. But more surprisingly, no one brought up Persephone's wrath form. Normally you guys would call me out on that kind of stuff. But like I said, Persephone's wrath form, which sounds like a powerful form in a video game, but originally her wrath form is just Persephone angry. But to get more specific, we do see some physical changes, most notably the red eyes. But it's more than just that. Other characters do have an eye change when experiencing emotions, most notably Apollo, as his eyes glow yellow. But it's more for Persephone. Persephone is the goddess of spring, and while powerful, seemingly lacks control, often creating flowers and plants in many situations, like lily pads when interacting with Hades, or her blue flower crown, also when interacting with Hades. These plants are a physical way of expressing emotion, and if flowers are her way of expressing interest, admiration, or love, what would anger, hatred, or frustration be? Thorns. Oh well, I'm not 100% sure what the flower crown is, but it doesn't look like it's flowers, so I'm assuming it's thorns. Anyways, we look for those moments to see Persephone, well, angry, filled with wrath, typically in an outburst of anger or hatred or even fear. And there are a couple moments that I think show Persephone at peak anger. But before we go anywhere, let's see how it all started. To say Persephone is a sheltered child is kind of an understatement. We see that her mom, Demeter, is the ultimate helicopter parent, scolding her for getting questions wrong, not giving her any form of technology. She didn't even have an email before the scholarship. Which brings us to that, the scholarship. There's no question that Persephone is a smart girl. But she is considered so academically advanced that she is chosen by the goddesses of eternal maidenhood. To have Persephone explain it, my mother, said that if I wanted to attend university, I would need to finance my own way there. I did well with homeschool. My mother and Hestia were always really enthusiastic about me becoming a permanent member. So they awarded me the scholarship. I just need to get high grades in my classes, be a good role model, do some representative work for them every now and then, and no sex. Ever. Of course, we know where that goes, but we see Persephone want to accept it. Because Persephone likes learning. She likes to go to school, and the scholarship meant she could go to Olympus and study there. But it wasn't that easy. Originally, Demeter wanted to use the scholarship to fund her little private thing. But Artemis sticks her neck out for Persephone, giving her a place to stay and even yelling at Demeter for treating Persephone like a child. Demeter storms out, but a week later, she's singing a different tune. Dear Artemis, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to ask if you are still willing to let me live with you. I have my mother's approval. Sincerely yours, Persephone. Persephone? What's with the name change? Yeah, but Persephone, that means bringer of death. Bringer of death. And at the end of the chapter, we get to see that bringer of death. It's Persephone in her quote-unquote wrath form. What happened that day is a mystery to basically all of us. Or at least, for now. I'm not sure what's gonna happen in those FastPass episodes. But what's more important is who knows. The only one who's given us anything is Helios, the Sun Titan? Oh, I see. You want to know about the bringer of death. Each and every one of us is capable of acts of wrath. But what she did that day is like nothing I'd ever seen before. All we know about early wrath for Persephone is that it's anger unleashed, uncooperative, uncaged. And we do see some other moments with wrath form Persephone. One of the first moments is with Apollo, of course. After Apollo picks Persephone up from school, they get into a little bit of an argument. and then we get to see her crown of thorns start to grow. We also see her get red eyes for an instant, but she does seem to calm down a little. Don't get me wrong, she's still angry, but compared to these moments, she's not as violent or unhinged. Eventually, Best Boy Cerberus stops the car and ends that. Our next real moment with her in wrath form is with this annoying reporter. Even Hades notices it. She squeezes his arm, saying, "Please don't grab me. I've been grabbed several times this week and I don't care for it." Eventually letting go because she starts to hurt the reporter. But here is one of the first moments we get to see how angry Persephone gets. But that's nothing like one of her most interesting acts in this form. And of course, it involves Apollo. We see her use her powers to steal his lyre from his car, even cutting one of the cords. And we get to see the culmination of that wrath form to Apollo when she confronts him. When she confronts him, we see her wrath form come out. But this is also the point where I start questioning if I should even call it a wrath form. We see Apollo continue to be a terrible person. We see Persephone, as well as the audience, get very mad. We are nothing. You want to talk so badly? Fine. Let me make this clear. I don't like you. I don't want you. I don't want to be you. You don't know anything about me. We are not in a relationship. I respect Artemis a lot and I don't want to drag her into this. You can come over on Fridays. You will say hello to me. I will say hello to you. That's it. I will tolerate you. At the beginning of this conversation, Persephone is urged on by anger and frustration of a god who thinks so highly of himself that he won't listen to reason or logic. But that later half of the conversation kind of changes. Persephone calms down, sure, but she also becomes more mature. She confronts her biggest problem. She confronts someone who scares her, but she goes head into that conversation that's difficult. You're my problem. I can guarantee you, what you're feeling right now is a mere fraction of what I feel for you. I was thinking of hiding your lyre from you for a decade or so, just to see what you would do. Quietly enjoy your frustration from a distance. Watch you come apart. But after hearing your spiel today, Tartarus, it's insult to injury. You don't have feelings for me, just unfounded impulse to control me. I've made myself clear in so many different ways that I'm not interested. The only way I can get through to you is to show you this. I'm afraid of you. This conversation is painful to read, but it's necessary. It's important that Persephone has this conversation no matter what happens after. But that itself is kind of strange. Not because it happens, but more so because of Persephone herself. I wouldn't call Persephone confrontational, or to a certain extent, mature. She's not adult, she's sweet, caring, and generous, and generally agreed to be a cinnamon roll. But I wouldn't say mature or adult. Not normally, at least. I think her wrath form is more than just wrath. I think it's all her emotions, thoughts, feelings, ideals that she doesn't want to feel. Pushed down and bottled up and disregarded until moments like these. Moments where she can't bottle it up. Moments where her anger or frustration or fear overtakes her. I think her wrath form is just her maturity. Her maturity that she pushed down in favor of being a sweet, kind, generous goddess. We see that maturity spill over sometimes. Like after the kiss. And when Persephone is talking to herself in the mirror, we see her wrath form talk back. Don't cry to me. I would have devoured him by now. You're the one who lost the plot over a kiss. There's a reason why everyone thinks you're a baby. Notice her in this form. Condescending, rude, strangely mature in adults, but also as far as her appearance. Fancy dress, jewelry, and a perfect haircut, compared to Persephone at this moment, only wearing a hoodie and long hair to show that she lost control of her powers. These two are the same, but her more mature wrath form isn't something she wants out of her. She demonizes it, acting like it's a terrible and hideous form. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Persephone is putting up a facade or anything. I think she's doing what we've all done at some point in our lives. pushing down the thoughts that we don't want to have and putting them into a different entity that's in us. And I don't think this is a baseless accusation. In my last Persephone video, I mentioned the greenhouse, a perfect prison, a place where you feel safe and protected and cared for, but you can never leave. Eventually, a door opens up for her and she takes it, even if it feels wrong. But she still stays inside the greenhouse, until an entity in the shadows calls her out. Splendid one, this life that others have planned for you. Why do you pretend to be sustained by a meek life? I know I can smell your ambitions as they rot at your feet. Last time I called this out, I said it was her conscience, or at least a part of her mind that's questioning what she's doing. But now I think it's her wrath form, an entity that's snarky, condescending, and rude. However, more mature and confrontational, calling her out for being stuck in the same life that she wanted to get out of. A more mature side that she thinks would be best if it was locked away in her mind. Locked away so that no one else could see it, no one else could talk to it, because she feels like it's not her, because she feels like it's too dangerous to let out. But that's just what I think. What about you? Is that her wrath form? Do you think it's something else? Should I stop calling this form her wrath form? The answer to that is yes, by the way. But, like always, thank you for watching.